Southern tree, very strange fruit, the leaves, and like a root, black body swinging in the southern strange fruit hanging from the poplar tree. Now in one photo he's laughing, and there is no cotton gin tied around his waist. He's not stretched into swollen limbs. His eyes are still hazel and bright like stars in uppercase. And ain't nobody gouged them out or shut them closed. And when he goes to school, he'll do a silly little dance with his arms and legs cocked out at odd angles, and his classmates are gonna laugh, and there will be no cotton gin tied around his waist. Pastoral scenes of the gallant South, the bulging eyes and the twisted mouth, scent of magnolia, sweet and fresh. Then the sudden smell of burning flesh. Now in this photo, he's proud of the hat on his head. You can see that by how straight his neck is, and his mama's in the photo and they got the same face. And his head is high and perfect, and ain't no bullet in it. And it will be months before there is one, and in those months, he is his mother's child, the smug and overfed man-child all Southern ladies love to cook for. Because he licks the plate clean, even if it's leftovers. He just eats and yes ma'ams, and makes you giggle so much you got to shoo him out the kitchen just so you can get the pots clean. And he's breathing, and he's whole. And ain't no men dressed like midnight with sunless, unlaughing eyes, snatching him out the door, changing everything when neither of them asked to be anything other than laughing in the kitchen with the greens still simmering in the pot. Here is a fruit for the crows to flood, for the rain to gather, for the wind to sigh, for the sun to rise, for the tree to dry. This last photo is a Holocaust. The one that history concretized into the nighttime musings of black children who hopscotched above and below Bible Belt, who saw a tattered otherworldly version of the 14-year-old Emmett, head poised strangely above a sharp black suit on the cover of Jet magazine. There were no eyes smiling. Mischievous, man-child, and wonderful, cornbread and buttermilk slicking, fast talking, looking like his mama, straight neck full of tomorrow's boy, staring back into the camera, knowing our baby girl would see it, and then know what should not be known, but what must be known. This is what the South will do with an adolescent mistake. When a fast-talking, finger-snapping Negro from up north bragged about big city white girl honeys with rosy lips and no Jim Crow, it is an image I shoved at my 14-year-old son, frenetic in my attempt to tell him that this is Black history. I need him to know that if he's not careful, if he's not brave, if he's not the sum total of all our unlit courage, if he relegates these stories to cliff notes, he bleeds out and dies in the epilogue. I need you to know, Sully, that my arms are never going to be wide enough to cover sins like these, that your head held so high is still a cautionary tale, but go on and do it